from now, yeah? Yeah? Not minutes ago. Now, I usually have my phone. So I have, because this is amana. I know people they came from work tired, and so I have to be conscious of time as well. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ما بعد. My brothers and sisters, inshallah, we will be covering every single Thursday night the topic of the women around the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Who were these women? What did they accomplish? Why were they considered some of the best women to ever live in the history of this world? Why was their legacy still preserved? What made them who they were? What made them who they were? Because these women, they also existed before Islam. And probably and most likely their names would have been lost in the pages of history if it was not for Islam. Let's compare those women and how Islam empowered those women and how Islam gave them those rights compared to the modern day woman. Women in other civilizations, for example, the Romans, they were considered legally incompetent. Meaning that the women in the Roman Empire, in the Roman civilization, they were legally incompetent. They had to have a guardian over them to make any decisions. In the French civilization, in the year 586, they held a conference to discuss, are women persons? Are women a person? Or they are some other creation? This was the whole civilization conference was based upon that. The Greeks, what were the women like in the Greek civilization? They believed that women were the lowest of creation and the most humiliated and degraded of creation. This is how they thought of women. In fact, Aristotle, you know what he said? He said, women, they have small intellect because the amount of teeth. They have less teeth than men. The more teeth you have, the more intellectual. You know, that's why they say wisdom teeth. No one bothered to check, okay, let me check. How many teeth does my father have and how many teeth does my mother? Oh, men and women, they have the same amount of teeth. But the people, they didn't even have this critical thinking. Let me just count. Let me go ahead and put that to the test. In Europe, after Isa alayhi salam, they considered woman a necessary evil, a devilish insinuation, and a calamity that is hidden and that is hidden behind a beautiful glaze. In Britain, actually, men were allowed to sell their wives up until 1805. So a little bit more than 200 years. In Britain, someone could go ahead and sell their wife for some money and then get her back after a year or two. And this was up until 1805. In France, up until 1938, women could not sign their own contracts. You need to have a man to sign the contract. In Islam, you can have a woman sign the contract. No man needs to go ahead and sign it. In the American civilization, women did not have the right to speak or be heard up until the 19th Amendment was passed in 1919. And so they could start voting in 1920. This is here in America. Switzerland, one of the most advanced countries in the West, did not grant women the right to vote up until 1990, just about 30 years ago. in Switzerland. In the Arab world, before Islam, women were inherited just like money. The way you inherit money, this is how women were inherited. What does that mean? That means if your father passed away, you could inherit his wives as long as she was not your mother. The son could inherit the wives of his father. That was not his mother. So if he had 10 wives, one of them is his mother, the other 9 will become his wives. This was amongst the Arab. What about women in our modern times? Right now, the way women are portrayed in our modern times, the image of woman, it has been instilled in the most shameful of ways. The heart and the mind naturally cannot accept, naturally, the fitrah. It hates, it loathes the way the women are being portrayed in billboards, in advertisements, in magazines, in movies, and on TV. In fact, the images of women have become a pillar of advertisement. Even if the product has nothing to do with the product of woman, you must have a chocolate. You must have a woman eating it. Car, you must have a woman standing next to it. Whatever it is, you must have a woman next to it. Why? Because in today's society that we're living in, the capitalistic society that we're living in, a person's worth is measured by how much money he makes. He is the most wealthiest person. This is how people are measured, by how much money they can bring in, how much money they have. When someone is being hired, they look at how much money he can bring into the company, especially if he's being hired for an executive position. And usually, women are seen or used in order for part of that income to come. And so in the name of freedom, in the name of liberating women, these people, these capitalistic individuals whose only God is money, they will go ahead and use these women to further their capitalistic ventures. And they will use these women under the disguise of giving them freedom and giving them a career and advancing them. They will go ahead and use them for their own financial gains, and making them captives to their whims and their desires. This is nothing but fraudulent freedom, because she is taken from being a servant to Allah, to God, and now being a servant to the whims of these CEOs and these managers and these high executives. They are taken from عبودية ila عبودية العباد. Whereas the Sahaba, one Sahabi, he was asked by one of the Roman kings, why did you come? He said, لنخرج العباد من عبادة العباد إلى عبادة رب العباد. We were sent to take people, mankind, from the slavery of mankind to the slavery of the Lord of mankind. And so now, this is, and you could imagine, this is how the prophets and the Sahaba, they were sent. They don't care about our women. They don't care about women at all. All they care about is how marketable is a woman. Once she loses her marketability, what happens? What happens? She gets dumped into the bin. If they truly care about women, then what about the women who are being killed and genocided in Palestine and in Kashmir and in many parts of the world? They don't care about women. They don't care about women's education. Trust me, they don't. We have our Islam who tells us what is the woman's education and what is the role, what is the position, what is the worth of a woman in Islam. I'll tell you, in the news it came a while ago, a French court fined a 70-year-old woman, widowed woman. How much? $1,750, about 6,000 francs. You know why? Because she was disrupting and bothering her neighbors. She was bothering her neighbors. Why was she bothering her neighbors? Because she said, I have been lonely since the death of my husband. No one asks about me. No one visits me. So I found that the only way for me to connect with these people is to call them up and say, just to hear their voice. And these neighbors, they called the police and say, she is bothering me. So they took her to court, and the court found her guilty and say, you must pay a fine of 6,000 francs. That's how they treat. This is what a neighbor is worth in the modern times. Let's consider what Islam encourages us. How to take care of your neighbors. How to be kind to your neighbors. What are some of the rights of neighbors? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Jibreel, he kept on coming to me and talking to me about the neighbors until I thought that the neighbors are going to be inheritors, part of the inheritors. Meaning if you die, your kids, your children, your wife, your spouse is going to inherit from you. Also your neighbor is going to inherit from you. This is how much he was telling me about the rights of the neighbors. Now when we want to shovel our snow, where do we shovel it? Put it to the neighbor. This is the rights of the neighbor? Does it hurt for you to also shovel his snow? And we call ourselves, mashallah, we are Muslim. She's an old lady. She doesn't have her kids come to her except on Mother's Day. What if you represent, that's your da'wah. That's your da'wah. You can go ahead and shovel the snow for her. And you could see what kind of an impact. Imagine she says, I believe in the same God as that person before she dies. Imagine. Look at how Islam honors just the neighbors. And look at how the modern civilization honors the neighbors. Look at how Islam honors the daughters. Subhanallah. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, Man aala jariyatayn hatta tablugha jaa yawm al-qiyamati ana wa huwa. Ana wa huwa. Wa damma asabi'ahu. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever takes care of two girls until they reach the age of puberty, then he and I will come together like this on the Day of Judgment. Imagine some people, they wake up from their graves next to Fir'aun, Haman, next to some of these Abu Jahl, some next to football players, soccer players, others next to Sahaba, next to Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Bukhari, Abu Huraira, next to the Prophet ﷺ, like this. Why? He didn't build a masjid. He just built two girls. He took care of two girls. Two girls. Not boys, 2 girls. It could be in your village. What do they need? Their father died? Here's $60 every month. How much is $60? We spend $60 just on one gyro platter. Yes or no? You give $60 for a whole month, education, food, medicine, whatever they need. You do this from the time they are born until 14 years old, you and the Prophet ﷺ will come on a day of judgment like this. This is Islam, how it treats the woman. You think the Prophet ﷺ used them as models to advertise? No, he honored them. We need to learn this so we know how to honor our daughters. We don't give preferential treatment to our sons over our daughters. They want to kiss us, hug us, we let them. We don't shun them away. We don't our faces become so sad when our daughter is born. No, we are happy. This is my ticket to Jannah. Look at what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Jannah becomes wajib upon this individual who takes care of 2 sisters or 2 daughters. So if you don't have daughters, you have sisters, no problem. You can. This is the Islamic treatment of daughters. Wives, الدنيا متاع وخير متاع الدنيا المرأة الصالحة. This dunya is enjoyment, and the best enjoyment is a righteous wife. You want to enjoy this dunya? If you have a righteous wife, you will enjoy this dunya. Not she is the lowest of creation. This is not what they are. What the Prophet ﷺ, mothers. Yeah, mothers. Someone wants to go for jihad. You know what jihad is, right? Jihad is the highest level of worship. It's tawheed, then salah, then jihad. Nothing comes close to jihad. Nothing. Okay? But the Prophet ﷺ, he told one Sahabi who want to join him. Imagine you are fighting jihad with the Prophet ﷺ. He said, is there anyone to take care of your mom? He said, no. He said, go falzamha. Go and serve her, because فَإِنَّ تَحْتَ رِجْلَيْهَا الْجَنَّةِ. Go, because under her feet is Jannah. Meaning you have to go and serve her in order, if you want Jannah. This is mothers, sisters, daughters, wives, aunts. Yes, Prophet ﷺ said, treat your aunt the same way you treat your mother. This is how Islam treats our. So what is the relevance of us talking about the woman around the Prophet ﷺ? My brothers and sisters, we are constantly being bombarded by the media and the educational systems that are always portraying women in the most vile of way. A woman's worth is only worth the beauty. Who are the most famous people right now? Singers, dancers, Instagram influencers. Who else? Pageant queens, Miss USA, Miss Universe. Yeah. This is how the most famous people. What about female teachers? Are they famous? Female scholars. Are they famous? No. We need to bring back this type of an attitude, so that way we can be appreciative of our female teachers. You know the female Islamic teachers you have? Yeah, so you could be appreciative of her, sacrificing so much to teach your kids. You know the female Islamic maktab teachers you have here? Who knows them? Anyone knows them? Huh? But who's Miss Universe? If she has an Instagram page, is probably 15 million followers. We need to revive this attitude, because the whole curriculum that is even being taught is given a false image of what a woman should be. No, Islam has already taught us. Our women, our wives, our mothers, the mothers of the believers, the daughters of the Prophet and Sahaba have already told us, if you want to be successful in this dunya and the akhirah, this is how you must be. So, because why am I going to talk about women? Because, normally women, unfortunately, women are neglected from our talks. But if woman is the second pillar, if one of two pillars of a house, shouldn't it be that we should talk about women? Can a society move forward by hopping on one leg? One scholar, he said, no society can go forward, can move forward if it hops on one leg. I say no bird can fly with just one wing. We need two wings. The father, which we're going to talk about inshallah every Tuesday, and then the woman, the wife, the mother. And look at all of the stories of our mothers and other sahabiyat, the female sahabi. What were they? Some of them, when it comes to knowledge, mashallah. When it comes to heroism, mashallah. When it comes to being loving wives, they excelled. Some of them in worship, some of them in intellectual capacity. We're going to talk about this. Who was Fatima? Yes, everyone knows Fatima. Okay, 1, 2, 3. But what did she do? Why is Fatima who she is? Radiyallahu anha. Who is Waraqa? Who is Salama? Who is Haram binti Milhan? Haram binti Milhan. Who is, for example, let's see some name that you guys don't know. Anas. Who is the mother of Abu Huraira? Anyone heard any story about the mother of Abu Huraira? Wallahi, it's an amazing story. She was a Christian, hardcore Christian. The mother of Abu Huraira was a Christian. And Abu Huraira crying to the Prophet ﷺ, please make dua, my mother becomes Muslim. He loved his mother so much. She hated Islam. She hated the Prophet ﷺ. Prophet ﷺ made dua. Through his good akhlaq towards his mother, she became a Muslimah. Imagine. Beautiful. Him and his mother in Jannah now. Are you going to be with your mother in Jannah? I don't know. Meaning what? What do I mean by that? Meaning, did you serve your mom enough for you to deserve Jannah? You see, when we talk about these, we will be self-reflecting. Us men, and then the women, they will be self-reflecting as well. So they can become like the mother of Abu Huraira, and we can become like Abu Huraira. How was the relationship of the Prophet ﷺ with Fatima? Every time he came back from jihad, first thing he did, where did he go? What do they teach you? Masjid. They go to the masjid. After that, where did he go? He went to Fatima's house. He would kiss her. This is how beloved. Do you do that to your daughters? Every time you travel, do you buy a gift for your daughters? Do you see where I'm getting with this? Inshallah, the women around the Prophet This is beneficial for the men and for the women. So I request all of us, inshallah, because my commitment, inshallah, I will come prepared. Not just like I have detailed notes. Okay? So I will come prepared, but I want you guys to also come prepared. Maybe do, some reading, before the class, and come prepared with your women folk. 15 minutes. Today is just introductory, inshallah. Come prepared, inshallah, with the right intention. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the understanding. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us hidayah. May Allah protect us, our women folk, and our kids. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our house like the houses of the Sahaba. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our women, our daughters, our sisters, our children, our household. Subhanakallahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.